Alright guys, BLM here, back with a new video. In this video, I'll be talking about the possibility of the Amazing Race All Winners. Now, I have done a video on this for Survivor and Big Brother. Obviously, the Survivor All Winners season is currently airing, so why not do this video for the Amazing Race? And unlike with Big Brother, I actually do think the Amazing Race All Winners season is a likelihood. I shouldn't say likelihood, but I do think it's a possibility. I do think it could happen. I think the cast is there, and I also think production could put it together if they really wanted to. Now, do they want to? I don't know. I don't know if they will. Maybe for the 40th anniversary season or something. I don't know. But I just don't know how incentivized Amazing Race is to actually put together a season like this. But I do think if they were to do so, I think they could find the cast if they really wanted to. Now, like with these other All Winners videos, I will be going through every single winner in the Amazing Race history up to this point, which is 31 winners. Obviously, we don't know the winner of season 32. So while that is filmed, I'm not going to include it here. But that might be another winner to obviously add to the list. So we'll be going through the 31 winners of the Amazing Race and talking about how likely it is for them to return for an all-winner season at some point. So let's get started with season 1. We have Rob and Brendan, and I feel like you can't do an all-winner season without them, right? I mean, I feel like it would be really weird. I mean, it's kind of like Survivor all-winners without Richard Hatch. It's just like, I feel like you kind of need Rob and Brendan. And also, I feel like they're willing to come back as well. I mean, I don't feel like there's anything holding them back from returning outside of the fact that they weren't riveting TV, but I think for an all-winner season, you kind of need them. So I do think that they're a very likely returnee. Then we got Chris and Alex, and for me, Chris and Alex are kind of unnecessary. I do know Alex is at least somewhat involved in Hollywood nowadays, right? So, I mean, I think he's someone that you could possibly still get. I think both of them really are. I think they're a team that you could possibly get for an all-winner season, but I don't feel like I need them, especially after we have Rob and Brennan. I feel like Rob and Brennan are more of a priority. So while I do think you could get Chris and Alex, I don't know if you need Chris and Alex. Now after that, we got Flo and Zach, and I feel like Flo and Zach are very unlikely. I would love to see it. I mean, just Flo, really, on TV again, I would love. I just feel like it's very unlikely Flo turned down All Stars because she didn't enjoy her experience the first time. I could very likely see her still turning it down. I mean, she is in a completely different spot in her life. I believe she's a mother now, so I mean, maybe those affect her rationale, but I just feel like it's very unlikely to see her back again. I don't know where Zach stands on things, so I just think it's unlikely that they return. Riken and Chip, I think, is very unlikely, right? I mean, they broke up. They didn't have a mutual breakup, so I think that's very unlikely. We got Chip and Kim, and I believe they're still together, right? I believe they're still together. I could see them coming back. I think it was a travesty that they weren't on All Stars, in my opinion, and I think it's very likely to see them on All Winner season. However, they are getting up there in age. I believe they're both in their 60s at this point, so I don't know how well they'll do, but I do think they're a likely returnee for a season like this. Freddie and Kendra, I believe they've broken up since then, and I mean, they weren't going to make the cast anyway, so oh well. Uchenna and Joyce, I believe they've also broken up since then, which is a shame. Obviously, they were very likable on season 7. They were very likable on All Stars as well, but again, they're not going to come back anyway. We have the Lintz family, which is really weird, obviously from the family edition, and supposedly they got the call for 31 to participate in a team of 2 instead of a team of 4. I think that's interesting. It would be an interesting concept for an all-winner season. I don't feel like I want to see it, though. I don't need to see it. Next up, we have BJ and Tyler. I feel like they were very likely. I don't know where they're at now. I haven't heard anything about them recently, but if I were to guess, I would say they're likely returnees. Again, I think it's a travesty they weren't on All Stars. I don't know how they weren't on All Stars. But I think for an all-winner season, they're probably some of the biggest personalities on the board. So I definitely think that their return would be very likely. Season 10, we got Tyler and James. I mean, come on. I literally know nothing about them outside of their former drug addicts and their models. I don't know where they are now. I don't know what they're doing. And again, I don't need them back. Next up, we got Eric and Danielle. And I mean, they're broken up. I mean, mind you, they were broken up at the time that they raced, from what I understand. But either way, I mean, I don't think it's likely that they return. So whatever. Next up, we got TK and Rachel. I believe they've broken up as well, from what I understand. And even then, again, they weren't the most riveting TV anyway, so didn't put them on. Next up, we got Nick and Star. And I feel like Nick and Star are likely returnees for this sort of season. Again, not the most dynamic personalities, but I feel like they are a brother-sister sort of duo. That's not a dynamic we see win the Amazing Race that much. I feel like they're unique enough personalities to where I could see them being cast. I just don't know how willing they are to play again. I believe Nick is like a Broadway sort of person now. I don't know what Star is doing, but who knows? Maybe we could see them back for an all-winter season. I don't know. Next up, we got Tammy and Victor, and I feel like Tammy and Victor are very likely. I would be surprised if they did an all-winter season without them. I feel like they're interesting enough personalities. I think they had a really fun dynamic. I know some people found them annoying. I personally didn't. They're, again, a brother-sister combo. I think they dominated their season. I see no reason why they wouldn't be back outside of the fact that maybe they don't want to come back. But if I were to guess, I would say they would definitely be in contention to return. From season 15, we got Megan and Shane. And I feel like Megan and Shane are likely returnees. I mean, I feel like while they might be, like, again, they're considered boring by a lot of people. I didn't personally find them boring, but I know a lot of people did. But they were also, like, some of the most dominant racers in the history of the race. I think they're the most dominant racers that can still return. So I think having them in an all-winter season is kind of necessary for me. I mean, they're still together. They're married with kids. I think seeing how their lives have changed since then would be interesting as well. I would really like to see them back, actually. For season 16, we got Dan and Jordan. I think they're, like, somewhat likely. I could definitely see production bringing them back. I think they're probably the most forgettable winners for me. I mean, that's kind of the problem there, but I know one of them, I forgot which one, is a super fan of the show, and I mean, I could see them bringing them back for an all-winter season, but really, are they necessary? Not really. Next up, we got Nat and Kat, and I feel like Nat and Kat are 100% necessary. The fact that we don't have that many female-female teams makes it very tough to do a season like this. I think that's actually probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks with a season like this is that you need more female teams to win, and Nat and Kat are kind of the best female winners there are. So I feel like they're very necessary for this season. Also, I feel like production really likes them. They were on the Price is Right special, and I feel like that's probably a good sign to see how production feels about certain people. So I think Nat and Kat are pretty much locks. Next up, we got Keisha and Jen, and I think Keisha and Jen are somewhat likely. I think the biggest issue there is that they would be third-time racers by that point, but obviously the Amazing Race doesn't seem to have any issue with that. They're obviously one of the few female teams to win the Amazing Race, so that's another factor. So, again, I do think a Keisha and Jen return for a season like this is pretty likely. We got Ernie and Cindy, and I think Ernie and Cindy are another one of the bigger locks on the board. I think production seems to like them. They were on one of the future seasons where they were in that baseball stadium and they gave out the clue and everything. For me, they're kind of shoo-ins for an all-winter season. We got Rachel and Dave, and I would love to see Rachel and Dave race again. However, they're divorced, and I mean, to be honest, that's all the reason why I want to see them race again. But again, I just feel like it's super unlikely. I don't feel like they have any incentive to go on together anymore, but it would be really fun to see them on the... I mean, because, like, the thing is, like, even though they're the most dominant racers in the history of the Amazing Race, they're also some of the most dysfunctional dominant teams in the history of the Amazing Race. I think that would be fun, but again, I just don't think it's likely. Josh and Brent, I don't know. I think there's a chance they come back. Again, I think they're kind of like a Dan and Jordan, where I think they are likely to say yes to a return, but it's like, does production want them back? And also, do we need them back for this all-winter season? Not really. So that's kind of the thing there. Bates and Anthony from season 22, I see no reason why they wouldn't at least be in consideration. Like, I mean, they're not the most dynamic sort of team in the world. I think, like, really they're very similar to, like, a Robin Brennan in terms of archetype-wise. So really, I think that's the biggest factor there in terms of would they be back for this season or not, but I see no reason why they would turn it down. For season 23, we have Jason and Amy, and I feel like Jason and Amy is another team that I could see back. They're still together. I believe they're married with kids. I think they're likely to say yes. It's just a matter of, like, would production put them on? I think they probably would. I was never really that entertained by Jason and Amy. I felt like they were kind of boring. I also felt like they weren't that good of racers either. So I don't need them back, but I feel like they would be a likely returnee. Dave and Connor, I mean, I don't feel like we need to see Dave and Connor again, right? I feel like I've seen enough of Dave and Connor. I mean, Dave is getting up there in age, right? And also, like, just, again, like Dave and Connor, I feel like they have nothing new to bring to the table. So while I do think they would definitely be in consideration, I just have no interest, for me personally, of seeing them back. From season 25, we have Amy and Maya. And again, I feel like Amy and Maya are kind of necessary for a season like this. While I don't think they are the strongest winners in the world, I do think they are a team that needs to be here just for the sake of gender distribution. I feel like you kind of need to bring them back, even though if it wasn't for that, I don't think they would make the cut. we got Laura and Tyler, and I don't think they're likely, right? Obviously, this was the blind date season. They were a blind date couple. Very unlikely to see them on the race again together. I just feel like it's kind of weird, but who knows? Next up, we got Kelsey and Joey, and I've always found Kelsey and Joey really boring. I've never particularly liked them on the show. However, it seems like production likes them. Again, they were in the Price is Right special, which is something. I mean, I think that they are probably likely returnees if there is going to be an all-winner season, but for me personally, again, I don't want to see them back necessarily. For season 28, we got Dana and Matt, and they're probably never coming back. From my understanding, they broke up, so yeah, just very unlikely. In 29, we have Brooke and Scott, and I feel like Brooke and Scott, from my understanding, are still friends. I think it's a very likely sort of return, as I think Brooke is probably, if you can't have Flo on this season, you gotta have Brooke. I mean, come on. I think Brooke's one of the best characters to ever be on the show. I mean, just her breakdowns are really fun. And also Scott being there to put her back in the right state of mind, I think is a really fun dynamic there. And I think for an all-winner season, they would be really fun to have back. Next up, we got Jessica and Cody, and for me, I don't feel like I need to see Jessica and Cody ever again. Do I think they'll be in the running? Probably. I do think that they're very likely returnees, actually, for an all-winner season. But for me personally, I don't feel like we need them. I feel like I've seen enough of Jessica and Cody. I feel like I know what they're going to bring to the table, and it's something I don't really need to see again. And the newest winners as of right now are Colin and Christy. And again, I feel like they are probably likely returnees. I feel like they'll definitely get the call. I don't know if they'll say yes, just because I feel like they're the type of people that don't feel the need to return after they've won. But again, this is an all-winner season, so that would be kind of more of an appeal there. I feel like the thing with Colin and Christy is that they have a very perfect story arc, where they start off on season 5 being like complete dicks to everyone, especially Colin, and being very aggressive. Then they move on to season, and they end up coming in second and losing the game. And then they come into season 31 more calm, more mellow, a lot nicer to people, building relationships with teams. And through that, they end up winning the season. I feel like that's such a great story arc. One of my favorite story arcs in all of reality television. And I feel like for them to return a third time, it kind of just ruins that arc. I feel like we don't need that story to continue. It kind of reminds me of like Ozzy from Survivor South Pacific, where I thought he had a perfect arc from Cook Islands to Micronesia to South Pacific, where I feel like his story ends pretty perfectly there. But then they brought him back in Game Changers, and it's like, why? Why was that a thing? Like, it just, like, kind of ruined his story. Like, it added an extra part of his story that was completely unnecessary. I feel like it's a similar thing with Colin and Christy here, where I feel like if they return, it's just adding more stuff to their story that doesn't need to be there. At the end of the day, if Colin and Christy are on an all-winner season, I'm not going to be that upset. Like, I would be, like, it would be fun to see them back, but I just don't feel like it's absolutely necessary. So there we go. That is every winner in the history of The Amazing Race and how likely I think that they could come back. Now, for the other possibility of videos, I didn't end up making a cast at the end of the video, as I didn't feel like any of those possibilities were very likely. However, with The Amazing Race All Winners, again, as I said, I do think this is a likely scenario. I do think this is something that could be put together if they wanted to put the resources into putting it together. And I just don't know if Amazing Race cares enough to do that at this point. But for me, I did put together a cast. I won't go through it in a lot of detail, but I mean, you can kind of get the sense of where I was going through, talking through all these winners anyway. So people I did put on the cast. I put Robin Brennan from season 1. I put Chip and Kim from season 5. I put BJ and Tyler from season 9. I put Nick and Star from season 13. Put Tammy and Victor from season 14. Put Megan and Shane from season 15. I put Nat and Kat from season 17. Put Ernie and Cindy from season 19. Put Jason and Amy from season 23. I put Amy and Maya from season 25. And I put Brooke and Scott from season 29. To be honest, all those were pretty easy. I think the biggest one for me was Jason and Amy. I needed one more male-female spot, and I didn't really know where to go there, as a lot of the male-female teams are broken up or boring to me. And really, it was between them and Kelsey and Joey. I do think Kelsey and Joey are more likely. It really was close. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, because, again, it's not a real cast, but either of those two could be on and it'll be fine. So there we go. That is my video on The Amazing Race All Winners. There's my cast for The Amazing Race All Winners. I think it's a fun concept. It's something that I would like to see happen. It's just I don't know if it will, merely from a production standpoint. But I do think it's something that they could do. So yeah, that is my video. That's my thoughts on the possibility of a Amazing Race All Winners season. Thank you for watching.